As is well known, on Easter Monday 1916, the Irish Volunteers, along with Cumann na Mán, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, na Fianna Éireann and the Irish Citizens Army embarked on a failed uprising in the heart of Dublin city. After the rising, 14 of the leaders were executed in Kilmainham jail, another one was executed in Cork, and a further one was executed in England. I'm currently at Arbour Hill Cemetery, where 14 of the Easter Rising leaders were buried after their execution in Kilmainham jail. Now, I'll be doing a video on each of the men executed, but there was 7 signatories of the proclamation, along with 4 or 7 other leaders and people who were executed simply because of their relations to the leaders, such as William Pearse. And they're buried here in Arbour Hill, which has the proclamation in Irish and in English, and then a memorial wall for other individuals killed during 1916 Easter Rising over on that wall. But I just wanted to do a brief introduction of where the men ended up. As many people know, they were executed in Kilmainham jail, but just a little further down the road is where they were buried. So, started in order of their execution. Thomas J. Clarke was the first to be executed, and James Connolly and Sean McDermott were executed on the last day. But this is Arbour Hill Cemetery. Now we're going to briefly look at the lives of the 14 men that are buried here. The first to face execution and the mastermind behind the 1916 Easter Rising was Thomas Clarke. He was a veteran Fenian who had spent 15 years in British prisons. Clarke had spent years preparing for the rebellion. During the rising, he was based at the GPO and acted as a senior leader, guiding the broader direction of the insurrection alongside the other signatories. Then we have Thomas MacDonagh, commanded the 2nd Battalion at Jacob's Biscuit Factory. His position saw relatively little action, but it successfully held a key area of the city, preventing British forces from advancing freely. Next came Patrick Pearse. From the steps of the GPO, he read the proclamation that declared the Irish Republic. Throughout the week, Pearse commanded from the inside of the building, coordinating strategy and in the final moments issuing the order to surrender. And after this, we have Edward Daly, commanded the 1st Battalion at the Four Courts area. His forces controlled a large section of the city and saw heavy engagement, holding back British troops in some of the most intense fighting of the rising. Then Michael O'Hanrahan, he served at Jacob's Biscuit Factory alongside MacDonagh. He acted as a staff officer and played a key role in maintaining the battalion's organisation throughout the week. Then we have William Pearse, though not a central commander. He remained at the GPO throughout the week, acting as a trusted aide and officer, standing alongside his brother Patrick until the surrender, and he was executed simply for being Patrick Pearse's brother. Then we have Joseph Plunkett. He served as the Director of Military Operations. Despite severe illness, he helped plan the rising and fought from the GPO, contributed to its defence under intense bombardment. Then we have John McBride. He fought at the Jacob's Biscuit Factory garrison. Though not part of the original planning, he took an active role in the rising, contributing to the defence of his position. And John McBride accidentally joined the rising, having discovered the volunteers going to their positions on the morning of the rising. After this, we have Con Colbert. He fought under Eamon Kent at the South Dublin Union. As the situation deteriorated, Colbert took full responsibility for his position, stepping forward to face the consequences of the battalion's actions. Then we have Eamon Kent. He led the 4th Battalion at the South Dublin Union. His men held their ground in fierce fighting, successfully resisting repeated British attempts to take the complex. Then we have Sean Houston. He was ordered to hold the Mendicity Institute for only a short period. Instead, he and his small force resisted for over 2 days, tying down large numbers of British forces before being overwhelmed. Michael Mallon was Chief of Staff to the Irish Citizens Army and commanded forces at St. Stephen's Green. Under heavy fire, his troops withdrew into the Royal College of Surgeons, where they held out for the duration of the rising. After this, we have James Connolly. He remained a central military figure throughout the week. From the GPO, he directed operations across the city and continued to command even after being severely wounded during the fighting. He was famously executed after being tied to a chair due to his injuries. After this, we have Sean McDermott, who was one of the chief organisers of the rising alongside Thomas Clarke. Though not tied to a single battlefield command, he operated from the GPO, helping to coordinate efforts and maintain communication between units. One by one, these men were executed in Kilmainham jail, beginning on May 3rd and ending on May 12th, 1916. Their bodies were brought here to Arbour Hill Cemetery and buried together, under quicklime, without family and without ceremony. Today, this quiet place stands in contrast to the chaos that they once led. 14 men spread across the city at the GPO, the Forecourts, South Dublin Union, St Stephen's Green, Jacob's Biscuit Factory and beyond, each playing their part in a rebellion that would echo far beyond a single week. And this is their final resting place inside Arbour Hill Cemetery. Now, the life of Roger Casement is one of remarkable transformation. A man once knighted by the British Empire, he would ultimately die condemned by it. In 1916, as plans for the Easter Rising unfolded, Casement travelled to Germany seeking support for Ireland's cause. But his mission faltered. Returning by submarine to the coast of Kerry, he was captured at Bawnard, weak, exhausted and alone, just days before the Rising began. He was brought to London, charged with treason and put on trial. And despite international appeals for clemency, Casement was convicted, and on August 3rd, 1916, he was executed by hanging in Pentonville Prison. For over 50 years, his body remained in England. Then, in 1965, they were finally returned to Ireland. In a state funeral attended by thousands and overseen by Eamon de Valera, Roger Casement was laid to rest here in Glasnevin Cemetery. A long journey home at last complete, although his final wish was to be buried in Antrim, something that hasn't happened just yet. A little big part in the 1916 Easter Rising, and that was because following the Rising in Dublin, the Kent family house was raided as there was roundups of prominent nationalists and Republicans from across Ireland. But when the RIC went to arrest the Kent brothers and raid the house, they were met by resistance. So the four brothers, it was Thomas, Michael, Richard, and I'm going to forget a name now. Thomas, Michael, Richard. I'll have to check the last name. But they were met by resistance. In a 4-hour gunfight, RIC constable was killed. Thomas Kent was arrested along with his other brothers, and Richard Kent was injured, and he died of his injuries a few days later. But then Thomas Kent was tried and executed in Cork prison and buried on the grounds, and it wasn't until 2015 that his remains were discovered through DNA testing and he was reinterred with his family. So we're just going to visit the family plot where he's buried and see if I can find the house where the raid took place. But this is a little plaque commemorating members of the IRA from the surrounding areas who died. So Richard Kent died from his wounds the 2nd of May 1916. That was following the raid. Thomas Kent executed on the 9th of May 1916. Michael Fitzgerald died on hunger strike 17th of October 1920. He is buried in Kilcrumper Cemetery along with Liam Lynch. Arthur Mulcahy, brutally murdered 22nd of March 1921. Their courage and heroic sacrifice prevailed. Ireland unfree shall never be at peace. Patrick Pearse. So this was obviously a 50th anniversary commemoration. Now I'm going to pull out my phone because I'm going to get the names of the four brothers. So Thomas, David, William and Richard. Sorry, so apologies, I forgot one of the names. So this is Castleane's Catholic Church. I'm not sure who that man is. On Potter Law, 1839 to 1920. Oh, I hope I'm in the right church. I think I am. But yeah, Thomas Kent, he was the only man outside of Dublin to be executed following the 1916 Easter Rising. Roger Casement was hung for treason over in London. So there's a little, here lies the voice of modern Irish. Pictor O'Lonig Skull na Shada. I'm not sure now who. Oh, where the shades of nest. Another buried here felt the loss of Irish just as keenly as this 1889 letter of his shows. Woke up, brother Celts, and join in the good work of preserving your language and save the old tongue from total extinction. I remain gentlemanly, respectfully yours, Richard Thomas Rice Kent. Thomas Kent also lies buried here, forgotten to no more since his state funeral in 2015. Co-parishioners, he and Padraig must have crossed paths many times, but on no more fateful day than the 2nd of May 1916, when it was Bawnard who answered Thomas's call for a priest in the desolate aftermath of the siege of Bawnard. Easy to imagine Padraig as an Irish, another Homer who was a... Okay, so I believe this man was a Gaelic speaker. I'll do a little more research on this man and find out. On Arbour Padraig's grave, on Arbour Padraig, old friend Osborne Bergen, 1919, Father Thomas Ferris. Oh, we'll have a look around. So it is Castleines Catholic Church. On a wet and windy day as usual. So Richard Kent, one of the brothers, he was shot and wounded and died from his wounds a few days after the siege at Bawnard House, which I will try and find. It could be someone's living in it. That's just the back of the church. So Thomas Kent is often seen as one of the leader, within the same bracket as the leaders of the 1916 East Rising, even though they didn't take part because of the countermanding orders from O'Macneil. But I would assume following the arrests and the ending of the Rising, the men wanted to resist. This would be the Kent family plot here. Yeah, the Kent family, Bawnard House, Cool Lower, Castleines. Richard Kent, 1875 to 1916. His brothers Thomas Kent, 1865 to 1916. David Kent, 1867 to 1930. William Kent, 1863 to 1956. His wife Catherine and their daughter Elizabeth. Their sons David Kent, Thomas Kent, their daughters Eileen Kent and Kathleen Kent, Edmund Kent. Erected by the Kent family. So that is the grave of Thomas Kent and his extended family. So I think they must have been a bit of a wealthy family. That is the poet's grave there that they were mentioning. Now, I'll try and find Bawnard House and add a little more context to the story of the Kent family.